Tonight, I want to tell you a quiet story about never giving up. It's about Maya, a young artist whose hands held dreams bigger than her small town could contain. In the early 2000s, in a peaceful place called Maplewood, mornings always began with bird song and the soft smell of coffee from the local diner. Maplewood was the kind of town where everyone knew your name, where the streets were lined with old oak trees, and where time moved slowly, like honey dripping from a spoon. Maya lived in a small white house at the edge of town, with her parents and her younger brother. From the moment she could hold a pencil, Maya loved to draw. Her bedroom walls were covered with sketches, portraits of neighbors, landscapes of the rolling hills, and wild, colorful creatures that lived only in her imagination. But Maya's parents had different dreams for her. They wanted her to become a doctor, like her father. "Art won't feed you," her mother would say gently, while folding laundry. Dreams need roots in reality. Maya never argued, but every night, after her homework was finished, she would sit by her window with her sketchbook, painting until her eyes grew heavy. One crisp autumn morning, as golden light streamed through her bedroom window, Maya found a thick envelope on the wooden table in the kitchen. The return address read National Academy of Fine Arts. Her heart beat faster as she touched the envelope, but as she opened it, Maya didn't know this letter would lead her down a path where every door seemed to close before she could walk through it. Maya's days were filled with routine, but her nights belonged to colors and dreams. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., her alarm clock buzzed softly on the wooden nightstand. She would slip out of bed quietly, careful not to wake her younger brother in the next room. Downstairs, the smell of coffee filled the small kitchen as her mother prepared breakfast. "Good morning, my diligent girl," her mother would say, placing a warm plate of scrambled eggs and toast on the table. Maya smiled, but her mind was already thinking about the sketches waiting in her notebook. After breakfast, Maya walked to Maplewood High School, her backpack heavy with textbooks. During math class, while her teacher explained equations on the chalkboard, Maya's fingers would trace invisible lines on her notebook cover. Imagine the curves of a face she wanted to draw later. At lunchtime, she sat with her best friend Liam under the old oak tree in the schoolyard. "You're daydreaming again," Liam would tease, nudging her shoulder. "What's going on in that artist brain of yours?" Maya would just smile and change the subject, afraid to share her dreams too loudly. After school, Maya worked at her family's small grocery store. The shelves were dusty, and the bell above the door jingled constantly as neighbors came in for milk, bread, and fresh vegetables. Mrs. Henderson, the elderly woman who lived down the street, would often stop by and chat while Maya bagged her groceries. "Your mother tells me you're studying hard for college," Mrs. Henderson would say. Maya would nod politely, stacking cans of soup neatly on the counter, while inside she felt a familiar ache. But when evening came, Maya's real life began. After dinner and helping with dishes, she would retreat to her bedroom, close the door gently, and open her sketchbook. The soft glow of her desk lamp illuminated pages filled with drawings, portraits of people from town, landscapes of the hills surrounding Maplewood, and fantastical creatures that existed only in her imagination. Her pencil moved swiftly across the paper, bringing shadows and light to life. Sometimes she would lose track of time completely, only noticing the late hour when her mother called up the stairs. "Maya, it's past midnight. You need your rest." One Tuesday evening, as Maya was sorting through her mail after work, she found a thick envelope from the National Academy of Fine Arts. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside was a polite but firm rejection letter. While your portfolio shows talent, we require applicants to have professional experience or formal art training. We encourage you to apply again after gaining more experience. Maya read the words 3 times, then carefully folded the letter and tucked it into her desk drawer. She didn't tell anyone about it, not her parents, not even Liam. That night, as she sat at her desk with her sketchbook open, the pencil felt heavier in her hand. But she began to draw anyway, the sound of graphite on paper filling the quiet room. But Maya didn't know that this first rejection was just the beginning of a storm that would test everything she believed about herself. When one door closes, Maya decided to build her own window. A week after receiving the rejection letter, she made a choice that would change everything. She packed a small suitcase with her best sketches, 2 changes of clothes, and the little money she had saved from working at the grocery store. Early one Saturday morning, while her parents still slept, Maya slipped out of the house and boarded the 6:15 a.m. bus to the city. She didn't tell anyone, not her mother, not her father, and not even Liam. "This is my dream," she whispered to herself as the bus pulled away from Maplewood. "I have to see this through alone." The city was nothing like Maya had imagined. Tall buildings blocked the sunlight, and the streets buzzed with people who never looked up from their phones. She found a tiny apartment on the 3rd floor of an old building, with peeling paint on the walls and a bathroom she shared with 2 other tenants. Every morning, she woke at 5 a.m. to work at a coffee shop downtown, serving lattes to hurried businessmen. In the afternoons, she walked from gallery to gallery, portfolio in hand, hoping someone would see her talent. But the responses were always the same. "We don't take unsolicited work," or "Your style doesn't match what our clients are buying right now." Maya's savings disappeared quickly. Some nights, she ate only bread and tea, saving coins for art supplies. She missed her mother's cooking, her bedroom window that framed the oak tree outside, and Liam's easy laughter. One rainy Tuesday, Liam called her phone. "Maya, where are you?" "Your mother is worried sick." Maya hesitated, her voice trembling. "I'm fine, Liam. I just needed to try something new." She could hear the disappointment in his voice when he said, "You didn't have to do this alone. I would have helped you." Maya hung up before she could cry. "Maybe I made a mistake leaving," she thought as she stared at the rain streaking down her window. But turning back now would mean admitting failure. Just as Maya was beginning to adapt to city life, a phone call shattered her fragile world. It was her father, his voice tight with worry. "Maya, it's your mother. She collapsed at the store this morning. The doctor says she needs surgery, a serious operation, and we don't have the insurance to cover it all." Maya's hand shook as she gripped the phone. "How much do you need?" she asked quietly. "Nearly $20,000, her father replied. Maya looked around her tiny apartment, at her half-finished sketches, her worn art supplies, her dreams pinned to the wall. She knew what she had to do. She would sell everything. But she didn't know that this decision would lead her back to Maplewood with empty hands and a heart even heavier than before. Sometimes we have to lose everything to find what truly matters. Maya stood in the hospital corridor, the smell of antiseptic burning her nose, her hands trembling as she clutched the phone. The doctor had just explained that her mother's surgery would cost $18,000, a sum that might as well have been $1 million. Maya looked through the glass window at her mother's pale face, the tube snaking from her arms, and felt her artist's dreams shatter like glass on concrete. That night, sitting at her childhood desk under the same lamp that had illuminated her sketches for years, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She sold her art supplies first, her precious brushes, her high-quality paints, even her sketchbooks filled with years of work. Each item felt like selling a piece of her soul. Then she called a gallery owner in the city who had shown interest in her work. "I need to sell my paintings," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "All of them. Today." The money wasn't enough. So Maya did what she never thought she'd do. She packed her suitcase again, but this time to return to Maplewood permanently. When she walked through her family's front door the next morning, her father barely looked at her. "I told you art wouldn't feed you," he said quietly, not unkindly, just stating a fact he believed to be true. As Maya helped her father organize the grocery store shelves that afternoon, something fell from an old box in the attic, a yellowed envelope addressed to her in elegant handwriting. It was the acceptance letter from the National Academy of Fine Arts, dated 3 years ago. Her hands shook as she read it. "We are pleased to offer you a full scholarship." The date was clear. Her father had hidden it. "I was protecting you," he admitted when she confronted him, his eyes filled with tears. "I didn't want you to get hurt chasing impossible dreams." Maya stared at the letter, then at her father's weathered face. She realized she wasn't just giving up her art. She was giving up the truth she had lived with for years. That evening, as she sat by her mother's hospital bed, holding her mother's fragile hand, Maya made a promise to herself that would change everything. Not just for her art, but for her entire life. She would find a way to keep creating. But this time, she would do it on her own terms, no matter how long it took. The hardest journeys are not measured in miles, but in heartbeats. Maya woke before dawn every morning, her body heavy with exhaustion, but her mind already planning the day ahead. She worked 3 jobs now, helping at the family grocery store during the day, teaching art classes to children at the community center in the afternoons, and shelving books at the town library late into the night. Her hands, once soft from holding paintbrushes, were now rough from lifting grocery boxes and scrubbing art supplies. Each evening, after everyone else had gone to bed, Maya would sit at her small desk with a single pencil and whatever paper she'd find, a receipt, the back of an envelope, a torn notebook page, and sketch by the dim light of her desk lamp. Sometimes she drew portraits of her mother sleeping peacefully in her hospital bed. Other times she drew fantastical creatures that seemed to understand her silent struggles. One rainy Tuesday, after teaching a children's art class where one little boy had proudly shown her his drawing of a flying dog with rainbow fur, Maya felt her first spark of joy in months. "I want to be an artist like you when I grow up," he had said, his eyes wide with admiration. Maya's throat tightened. She wanted to tell him that being an artist wasn't just about drawing. It was about getting back up every time life knocked you down. But instead, she just smiled and said, "You already are an artist." The physical exhaustion was constant. Some nights, Maya would fall asleep standing up while shelving books at the library, her head nodding against the cool metal shelves. One evening, after a particularly long day, she found herself staring at a blank piece of paper, tears streaming down her face. "Why keep trying?" she whispered to the empty room. "No one cares about my art anyway." She almost threw the pencil across the room, but then remembered her mother's words from years ago. "The world needs beauty, Maya, even when it doesn't know it." She picked up the pencil and began to draw again. After months of saving every penny, Maya finally paid off her mother's medical bills. To celebrate, she used her last bit of savings to buy a small set of watercolors and entered her artwork in a local gallery's exhibition. The night of the opening, Maya stood nervously in the corner of the small gallery, watching as people walked past her paintings without stopping. By 9 o'clock, the room was empty except for her and the gallery owner. "I'm sorry, Maya," the owner said gently. Sometimes it just takes time. Maya nodded, forcing a smile, and began packing up her unsold paintings. But as she was leaving, wiping tears from her cheeks, a soft knock on the gallery door made her turn around, and standing there was someone who would change everything she thought she knew about her journey. The gallery door creaked open slowly, revealing a tall man in a dark coat, his face partially hidden by the shadow of his hat. Rain dripped from his shoulders onto the worn wooden floor. Maya quickly wiped her tears and forced a professional smile. I'm sorry we're closed now. The exhibition ended an hour ago. But the man stepped inside anyway, shaking water from his umbrella. I know, he said, his voice calm but firm. I saw your paintings through the window as I was walking past. I couldn't leave without speaking to you. He removed his hat, revealing kind eyes that seen many years. My name is Mr. Chun. I own the Golden Brush Gallery in the city. Maya's heart pounded so loudly she could hear it in her ears. She remembered seeing his gallery in magazines. Elegant spaces filled with artwork worth thousands of dollars. My paintings didn't sell tonight, she admitted quietly, looking down at her worn shoes. Actually, Mr. Chin said, walking toward her largest painting, a landscape of Maplewood at sunset. He pointed to the way she had captured the light filtering through the old oak trees. This isn't just skill. This is truth. I've been looking for an artist who paints what they feel, not what they think will sell. He turned to face her directly. I want to buy all 6 of your paintings tonight, and I want to offer you a solo exhibition at my gallery next month. Maya's breath caught in her throat. This was everything she had dreamed of since childhood. Mr. Chin continued, but there's one condition. Your style is too personal, too much like small-town memories. My clients want modern, bold art. I need you to change your style, to paint what sells in the city, not what lives in your heart. He placed a contract on the small table beside them. Sign this, and you'll have everything you ever wanted. Money to pay your mother's remaining bills, a real studio, and fame as an artist. Maya stared at the contract, the words blurring as fresh tears formed. This is what I came to the city for, she thought. This is why I left everything behind. But if I sign this, will I still be the artist who painted under the oak tree with her mother watching? She remembered the little boy from her art class who had drawn a flying dog with rainbow fur. You already are an artist, she had told him. But was she still an artist if she painted only what others wanted to see? Outside, the rain intensified, drumming against the gallery windows like impatient fingers. Mr. Chin waited patiently, but Maya knew this moment would define not just her career, but her soul. She looked at her hands, rough from 3 jobs, stained with paint, the hands of someone who had never given up. Mr. Chun, she said, her voice trembling but clear. What if I told you that the most beautiful art comes not from changing who you are, but from staying true to what makes your heart beat? She pushed the contract gently back across the table. I cannot sign this, but I would be honored if you came to see my art again, exactly as it is. The room fell silent except for the sound of rain, and Maya realized that in refusing the contract, she had finally found her true voice as an artist. Sometimes the greatest victories come disguised as defeats. Maya watched Mr. Chen's face carefully as she pushed the contract back across the table. For a long moment, he was silent, studying her paintings again in the dim gallery light. Then, to her surprise, he smiled, a real, warm smile that reached his eyes. You know, he said, 40 years ago I made the opposite choice. I changed my art to sell it, and I became rich but empty. Your courage just reminded me why I fell in love with art in the first place." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a business card. "I still want to buy these 6 paintings, not because I think they'll sell, but because they move me. And I want you to keep creating exactly as you are. When you're ready, visit my gallery, not for a contract, but for a conversation between 2 artists." Maya's hands trembled as she took the card. That night, as she walked home through quiet streets of Maplewood, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the peace of giving up, but the peace of knowing she had stayed true to herself. Over the next year, Maya continued her 3 jobs, but now she painted every spare moment, not for galleries or money, but because her heart needed to create. She taught art classes to children in the community center, showing them that art wasn't about perfection, but about expressing what lived inside them. One spring morning, a local magazine featured Maya's story and her paintings in a small article titled "The Artist Who Said No." The writer had been in the gallery that rainy night and had witnessed her conversation with Mr. Chun. The article spread, and soon people from nearby towns came to Maplewood specifically to buy Maya's original paintings. Most importantly, her mother recovered fully, and one evening as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, her father handed her a small wooden box. Inside were new paintbrushes and tubes of professional-grade paint. "I was wrong," he admitted quietly. "Your art isn't just colors on paper. It's your heart speaking. I should have listened." Exactly 1 year after that rainy night in the gallery, Maya opened a small art studio above her family's grocery store. She called it Never Give Up Studio. And every Saturday morning, she taught free art classes to children from families who couldn't afford lessons. On the opening day, Liam stood in the doorway, holding a bouquet of wildflowers. "I'm sorry I didn't believe in you," he said. Maya smiled. "The only person who needed to believe in me was me." As Maya looked around her small studio filled with children's laughter and the smell of fresh paint, she realized something profound. Success wasn't about reaching a destination. It was about staying true to your journey, even when the path was dark. Her brush was no longer just a tool. It was a bridge between hearts. And that's why, even today, if you visit Maplewood, you'll see children's artwork displayed in every shop window, transforming a small town into a place where dreams are nurtured one brushstroke at a time. Let me tell you Maya's story again, gently, like a lullaby for your English practice. Maya was a young artist who lived in a small town called Maplewood. She loved to draw and paint every night after her daily work at her family's grocery store. Her dream was to become a real artist, but her parents wanted her to be a doctor instead. One morning, she received a letter that would change everything. The first problem came when Maya applied to art school. They rejected her application because she didn't have enough experience. Maya felt disappointed but didn't give up. She decided to move to the big city alone to follow her dream. In the city, she worked in a coffee shop during the day and tried to sell her paintings to galleries at night. But no one wanted to buy her art. She was lonely and tired. Then Maya received terrible news. Her mother was very sick and needed expensive surgery. Maya had to sell all her art supplies and paintings to help her family. She returned to Maplewood with empty hands. When she came home, she discovered something shocking. Her father had hidden her acceptance letter from art school years ago. He thought he was protecting her from disappointment. Maya worked 3 jobs to pay her mother's medical bills. At the grocery store, teaching children art classes, and working at the library at night. She was exhausted but never stopped drawing. One evening, she showed her paintings at a small gallery, but no one came to see them. Just as she was about to leave, a famous gallery owner knocked on the door. He offered to buy all her paintings and make her famous, but only if she changed her artistic style to sell more. Maya faced a difficult choice. She could become rich and famous by changing her art, or stay true to herself and keep creating what she loved. She chose to stay true to her heart. The gallery owner respected her courage and still bought her paintings. Over time, Maya's honest art touched many people's hearts. Maya learned that true success isn't about money or fame. It's about never giving up on what makes your heart come alive. Today, she teaches art to children in Maplewood, showing them that dreams can come true when you stay true to yourself. Never give up. Keep trying. Your true success is waiting. If I could tell you my story again, this time from my own heart, it would sound like this. I remember sitting by my bedroom window in Maplewood, painting under the soft light of my desk lamp while everyone else slept. I felt so alive with colors and dreams, but also so alone. My parents wanted me to be a doctor, but my hands always itched to create. When I opened that first rejection letter from art school, I felt my heart break. But I thought, maybe if I go to the city, someone will see my talent. I saw the city as my salvation. I packed my suitcase with trembling hands and left without saying goodbye. I thought I was being brave, but really I was running away. In that tiny apartment with the leaky faucet, I felt more alone than ever. I worked at the coffee shop, my hands shaking as I served strangers, while my paintings gathered dust in the corner. Every no from galleries made me feel smaller, but I kept drawing anyway, in the margins of receipts, on napkins during breaks. Then I got the phone call about my mother. I felt the world tilt beneath my feet. I had to sell everything, my brushes, my paints, even my favorite sketchbook with the oak tree drawing. When I found that hidden acceptance letter in my father's attic, I felt betrayed but also understood. He was trying to protect me from pain, just like I was trying to protect my mother from worry. Working 3 jobs nearly broke me. Some nights at the library, I would rest my head on the cool metal shelves and cry silently. But then I'd remember why I started, the joy of creating something beautiful from nothing. That rainy night in the empty gallery, when Mr. Chen offered me fame but asked me to change my art, I felt torn between my dream and my truth. I thought, if I lose myself to become famous, what's the point of success? When I chose to stay true to my heart, I felt terrified but also free. I realized that my worth wasn't in selling paintings, but in the act of creation itself. Today, when I see children in my studio laughing as they paint flying dogs with rainbow fur, I feel complete. My journey taught me that true success isn't about reaching a destination. It's about never abandoning the person you were meant to become. And that's a lesson I carry in every brushstroke, every day. Every ending is just a new beginning wearing a different mask. As we close Maya's story tonight, I want you to remember something simple but powerful. Your own journey matters just as much as hers. Maybe you're studying English late at night while others sleep. Maybe you're working a job that doesn't fulfill you while dreaming of something more. Maybe you face rejection after rejection, just like Maya did in that small gallery on a rainy night. What if those moments aren't signs to stop, but invitations to dig deeper into who you truly are? True success doesn't come from never failing, but from never giving up on what makes your heart come alive. If Maya's story touched your heart and helped your English listening tonight, I would be honored if you gave this video a gentle like. It helps others find these calm stories for learning. If you like more stories like this one, with real emotions and simple English to practice, please subscribe to our channel. And if you feel comfortable, share one sentence in the comments about a dream you've never given up on. I read every single one, and your words might inspire someone else who is listening right now, just like you. Before you go, remember this. You don't need to change who you are to find your success. Like Maya standing in that empty gallery, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay true to your own voice. Your journey might be slower than others, but it's yours, and that makes it precious. Thank you for listening to this story with me tonight. I hope you carry Maya's courage with you tomorrow. Sweet dreams, and I'll see you in the next story.